My boss made me postpone my gallbladder surgery because he wanted to take his kids to Disney World. 3 days later, I was being rushed into emergency surgery, septic with a ruptured organ, and somehow, he still tried to write me up for attendance issues for my hospital bed.
I've been a logistics coordinator at Hartwell Distribution for 7 years. 7 years of covering shifts, training new hires, and basically keeping that warehouse running while management took all the credit. My direct supervisor, Craig Patterson, had been there for 3 years. He got the job because he was college buddies with the regional director. That's it. No logistics experience, no management background, just the right golf partner. Craig was the kind of boss who disappeared for 2-hour lunches but questioned you if you took 11 minutes for your 10-minute break. He delegated everything to me while spending his days on personal calls and online shopping. I saw it all from my desk, which was positioned right outside his glass-walled office. In February, I started having these sharp pains in my abdomen. At first, I thought it was stress. The holiday shipping season had been brutal, and I'd been working 60-hour weeks since October. But the pain kept getting worse. After a particularly bad night where I couldn't sleep at all, I finally went to the doctor. Gallstones. My gallbladder was full of them, and it needed to come out. The doctor was clear. This wasn't optional. Left untreated, it could rupture and cause serious complications. She scheduled my surgery for March 15th, which gave me 3 weeks to prepare everything at work. I did everything right. I documented all my ongoing projects. I created detailed handoff notes for whoever would cover my responsibilities. I submitted my medical leave paperwork to HR and got it approved. I even trained 2 junior coordinators on my daily tasks. I was going to be out for 2 weeks, and I wanted to make sure nothing fell through the cracks. Then, exactly 1 week before my surgery, Craig called me into his office. "Marcus, we need to talk about your time off," he said, not even looking up from his phone. "I'm going to need you to push that back." I actually laughed, thinking he was joking. Push back my surgery? Craig, it's already scheduled. The hospital, the surgeon, the anesthesiologist, everything's locked in. "Yeah, see, here's the thing." He finally looked at me, completely unbothered. "Melissa and I are taking the kids to Disney World that week, spring break. It's the only time that works with their school schedule. I already told corporate I'd be out March 14th through the 22nd. I stared at him. "You scheduled vacation during my approved medical leave?" I didn't check the calendar, but that's not really the point. Point is, we can't both be out, and since mine's already approved by corporate, mine is approved too, by HR, for surgery. Craig shrugged. "Look, gallstone stuff isn't like cancer or anything, right? People live with gallstones. My aunt had them for years. Just reschedule for April when I'm back. Problem solved." I tried to explain that this wasn't something I could just push off indefinitely, that my doctor had stressed the importance of getting it done soon, that I'd already coordinated with my wife to take time off to care for me. Craig held up his hand like he was stopping traffic. "Marcus, I'm not asking, I'm telling you. If you're not here that week, we're going to have serious problems. You're the only one who really knows how things work around here." The irony of that statement almost made my head explode. He just admitted that I was essential while simultaneously telling me my health didn't matter. I went to HR. I sat down with Patricia, who had approved my leave, and explained what was happening. She looked uncomfortable, shuffled some papers, and said she'd look into it. 2 days later, she called me back. "Craig spoke with Regional," she said, not meeting my eyes. "They're asking if you can accommodate this. It would really help the team." Help the team? I need surgery. I understand, Marcus, but technically it's elective surgery. It's not an emergency. And with Craig's seniority, he's been here 3 years. I've been here 7. Patricia just gave me this helpless look. "I'm sorry, it's above my pay grade." I called my surgeon's office. They could reschedule me for April 8th, but the nurse noted my chart with concern. She told me to watch for warning signs: fever, severe pain, vomiting. If any of that happened, I needed to go to the ER immediately. March 15th came, and instead of being in a hospital getting fixed, I was at my desk watching Craig's daily Disney photo updates on the company Slack channel, his kids on Space Mountain, his wife drinking a massive margarita at Epcot, him grinning in Mickey ears with the caption, "Living my best life." Meanwhile, the pain was getting worse. I was popping antacids like candy. I couldn't eat anything without feeling like someone was stabbing me. But I kept working because I was terrified of what would happen if I called in sick while Craig was gone.
On March 18th, I woke up at 4 in the morning, drenched in sweat, with the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my life. It felt like my insides were on fire. My wife took one look at me and called 911. The next few hours are a blur of ambulances, fluorescent lights, and terrified doctors using words like perforation and peritonitis and sepsis. My gallbladder had ruptured. Bile was leaking into my abdominal cavity. They rushed me into emergency surgery that lasted 4 hours. I woke up in the ICU with tubes everywhere, my wife crying beside me. The surgeon told me I was lucky to be alive. Another few hours and the infection could have killed me.
I was lying in an ICU bed fighting sepsis because my boss wanted to ride the teacups with his kids. Subscribe if you already know this man faced 0 consequences, or if you're hoping I'm about to tell you he got what he deserved. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in my position, because honestly, I still wonder if I should have just gotten the surgery anyway and dealt with the fallout. But trust me, what Craig did next makes everything I just told you look like nothing.
I spent 6 days in the hospital, 6 days of IV antibiotics, drainage tubes, and doctors monitoring me for organ failure. My wife had to explain to our 7-year-old why Daddy couldn't come home, why she couldn't visit because the ICU didn't allow young children. On day 3, while I was still so weak I could barely sit up, my phone buzzed with an email. From Craig, subject line, attendance documentation. I thought maybe it was a get well message, maybe he'd realized how serious this was. Instead, I opened it to find a formal written warning for excessive unscheduled absences. The email stated that I had missed 3 consecutive days without proper advance notice, which violated company attendance policy. It noted that this was being added to my permanent file and that further violations could result in termination. I was literally hooked up to a machine that was keeping me alive, and this man was writing me up for not being at work. My wife wanted to throw my phone across the room. I just stared at the screen, feeling something cold settle in my chest that had nothing to do with the infection. I forwarded the email to my personal address. Then I started documenting everything. Every email where Craig had pressured me to postpone my surgery, the HR conversations, the Slack messages showing he was on vacation while I was supposed to be having my procedure, my original approved medical leave paperwork, the hospital records showing exactly why I was now in the ICU. When I was finally discharged, I had another 2 weeks of recovery ahead of me. The surgeon made it clear that I'd come dangerously close to dying and that my body needed serious time to heal. He wrote me out of work until April 15th. Craig's response was to call me, not to check on me, but to complain. "Marcus, this is really putting us in a bind. How long are you going to milk this?" Milk this? I'd had emergency surgery to remove a ruptured organ and nearly died from sepsis, and he thought I was milking it. I didn't argue with him. I just said I'd be back when my doctor cleared me and hung up. Then I called an employment attorney. Her name was Dana Whitfield, and when I laid out everything, the forced postponement, the vacation conflict, the written warning from my hospital bed, she got very quiet. Then she said 5 words that changed everything. "Do you have all this documented?" I did, every single piece of it. Dana helped me file a complaint with the Department of Labor. She also helped me draft a formal complaint to corporate HR, not the local office that had failed me, but the actual corporate headquarters. I detailed everything: the coerced postponement of medically necessary surgery, the retaliation while I was hospitalized, and the hostile work environment that had followed. The response was swift. Within 3 days, I received a call from corporate's head of HR. She was horrified. She asked if I had documentation. I did. She asked if I'd be willing to speak with their legal team. I was. The investigation took 2 weeks. During that time, I was still home recovering. Craig apparently had no idea what was coming because he kept sending me passive-aggressive emails about projects that were falling behind without me. I forwarded every single one to corporate. On April 20th, I got a call to ask me to come in for a meeting. I brought Dana with me. When we walked into the conference room, Craig was already there, looking smug. He clearly thought this was about me, that I was being disciplined. The look on his face when the head of corporate HR and 2 lawyers sat down across from him was something I'll treasure forever. They had found everything. Every policy violation, every piece of evidence that he'd pressured me to delay medical treatment, the written warning he'd issued while I was in the ICU, which it turns out he'd done without any HR approval, completely outside of proper procedure. But here's what really sealed it. They found out this wasn't his first time. 2 other employees had filed informal complaints about Craig pressuring them regarding medical leave and family emergencies. Those complaints had been swept under the rug by the local HR rep, Patricia, who it turns out was Craig's wife's cousin. Craig was terminated that day. So was Patricia. The regional director who'd backed Craig's vacation over my surgery received a formal reprimand and was transferred. As for me, the company offered a settlement. They covered all my medical expenses that insurance hadn't paid, compensated me for the pain and suffering caused by the delayed surgery, and gave me a formal written apology. They also promoted me to Craig's position with a significant raise. I thought about declining. After everything, did I really want to stay? But then I thought about the 7 years I'd put in, the relationships I'd built, the fact that the people who had wronged me were gone. I accepted. It's been 8 months now. I'm fully healed. My team knows they can come to me with any medical needs without fear. I've personally approved 3 medical leaves since I took over, and each time I think about that week in the ICU. Craig, from what I hear, is still unemployed. Turns out terminated for cause doesn't look great on a resume, especially when your references can confirm you nearly killed an employee by pressuring them to skip surgery so you could go to Disney World. And those Mickey ears he was so proud of? My wife found a picture frame that says "World's Best Boss" at a thrift store. She printed out that Slack photo of him grinning in those years and put it on my desk as a reminder. A reminder that my health comes first, always, and that no job, no boss, no vacation is worth dying for.
Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. And if you've got your own workplace nightmare, a boss who put you in an impossible position, an HR department that failed you, a situation that still makes your blood boil, I want to hear it. Drop your story in the comments or send it to us directly. It might just be featured in our next video. Until then, take care of yourselves. And remember, your health and your dignity are never negotiable.